Are you a cash-strapped author that is looking to really, do this business without having to spend a dime? Now, I know that seems rather reckless, and for some of the people that have been in this industry for a while, they have the luxury of saying, oh, well, there's this, that, and the other that you can be able to go reinvest it. But I want to talk to the folks out there that really want to write, publish, and market their book for no money because it is possible. So if you're not sure what the best first steps are for writing a book, then I'm going to get you covered. And in fact, actually, this is going to be the first part of many parts actually coming up over the next couple of weeks, where we're going to be discussing all about writing, publishing, marketing, and of course, getting reviews for no money whatsoever. Hey, before we do jump into things, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Get Covers. If you're looking for high quality cover designs on a tight budget, then consider our sponsors, Get Covers. This graphic design service is everything a cash-strapped author needs, from book covers to logo design to marketing materials and more. With every order, you get unlimited revisions, experienced in-house designers, and 100% money-back guarantee. To start your next design order with Get Covers, visit my affiliate link at dalelinks.com/getcovers. And you can also enter for a chance to be featured in an upcoming video and win a free ebook cover design by Get Covers when you visit dalelinks.com/getcovers giveaway. We'll be drawing one winner on May the 11th, 2023. If you missed the deadline, you have 3 more chances to win a service. So visit dalelinks.com/getcovers giveaway today. All right, so this is the first of 3 parts in a series about writing, publishing, and promoting your self-published book for free. And I am going to really try to deep dive on some of these areas, but please forgive me. I think some of these topics would require, I'd say, an hour to 2 hours at a time. So I'm going to give a good broad overview. Let's start out. Very first thing here is going to be research. Now, this is optional because I know there's a lot of authors out there that know exactly what they want and where they want to do and all that. So you can probably skip the whole research phase if you wanted to. That's fine. Research can also be done during the publishing process. But I think for those of you out there that need to grease your creative wheels and think, okay, I want to write a specific genre, a specific niche, but I want to know what the market is interested in right now. So this is the option for the author who wants to market, wants to write to market. So if you're writing to market, this is a term I learned from Chris Fox, by the way, fantastic guy. Go check out his book about write to market. It's a really, I think it is required reading for every self-published author, especially those that want to do this. But at any rate, write to market means looking and seeing what type of genres or niches that are selling really well and that you could possibly write to fit that specific type of market. So let's just say, for instance, I'm into underwater basket weaving. It's probably super, super niche and there's not going to be a lot of people. That's probably not going to pay my bills. So I might want to focus on something else, like let's say Werebear Shapeshifter Romance, or maybe some type of romance or erotica or something like that. And I can figure out what is going to work to pay my bills and hopefully subsidize all that money can go over towards the niche that I really am into, which is underwater basket weaving for dolphins. So doing the research, simple as possible. All right. Amazon DS Quick View is the name of it. Once again, that's Amazon DS. I have no idea what the DS stands for. Quick View is a browser extension. It's free. There is a paid version. I've never picked up the paid version. Big shout out to Amazon DS Quick View for giving me free access all these years, and they can give you free access as well. You just go over to an extension store and you can be able to put it into your browser. It's great for looking at product details at a glance. So here's the issue. You could go and do your niche research by just going in there and hammering away. Let's say put a specific keyword, it brings up all the products, and you would have to click on each one of the pages, scroll down to see the product details. Not with Amazon DS Quick View. What it does is it shows you the product details at a glance right on the actual search page when you look it up. Now, the important thing that you need to remember, and I'm going to tell you why this is important in just a second, is you have to enable Amazon DS Quick View for incognito mode. Now, I believe you just go into settings, you look up, I think, extensions, and you go into the extensions, and you'll see Amazon DS Quick View, and you just click the little thing that says enable for incognito mode. Now, let's discuss incognito mode. Why is incognito mode important? The problem is, if you do your research in a browser that you have been buying or browsing in, chances are very likely a place like Amazon is going to serve you results based on your browsing and buying history. We want to get a neutral data. We want to get neutral data and information from Amazon. So you'll want to make sure that anytime you're doing your research, you're opening up your browser in incognito mode. Now, if you're not familiar with how to do incognito mode, just simply Google it up. I use Chrome personally, and all I have to do is hit Control, Shift, and the letter N for new, and it opens up an incognito mode browser. So we want to make sure it's untainted, the information that we get. We want to make sure Amazon DS Quick View is giving all of us the stats that we need to at a glance. Now, here's how the process is going to work. What you're going to do is going to incognito mode, open up the Amazon Kindle store or Amazon bookstore, either one of them, whatever one you're planning to do the research in. And then you're going to start to type up a specific keyword or keyword phrase, and then stop as soon as you've done the first word or the second word. You'll see autosuggest populates down there for you. You're going to jot down all of those different keywords and see, okay, this makes sense, this sounds interesting, this doesn't sound interesting. And you're going to need to sift through that list. So the next thing you're going to do is take those keywords and then search them. Literally, you're going to just hit enter as soon as you found that specific search term that you like. And the first thing you're going to do is it's going to pop up and it's going to give you a ton of different products. It could be anywhere from 0 to 100, or it could be anywhere from 100,000 or even more. You're paying attention to those products. The reason is, if there's not very many products, it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. It could be a good thing in that you found a specific keyword or a niche of some sort that nobody's tapping into. Or it could be bad in that nobody's tapping into it because there's not really an audience to look for something like that. Generally speaking, I like to look at a product count being around, I'd say 1,000 to no more than about 10,000, but it's not a deal breaker if I find a specific niche that I find very interesting and I can fit into properly. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is figure out the average Amazon bestseller ranking. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'll say ABSR from this point on, but that represents the Amazon bestseller ranking, meaning the specific system for listing all of the titles that are currently selling on the Amazon platform, based on, of course, the ranking. So the closer you are to number one, the more sales that you have. The further away you are from number one, the less sales that you have. And when you're going through and figuring out the average Amazon bestseller ranking, you're going to look at each one of the products that are pulled up. There's going to be 16 in total from an Amazon page. Exclude any product, sponsored product ads. And you'll know they're sponsored product ads because you'll say sponsored next to it. Ignore those. They should not be included in your research. What I personally like to see is 10,000 to 100,000 ABSR. Anything higher than 100,000, it's probably not going to be worthwhile, meaning that it's going to probably be getting less than a sale per day. Anything less than 10,000 requires a significant amount of sales, but that shouldn't dissuade you by any means, because 10,000 ABSR is roughly, I'm thinking off the top of my head here, it's I think about 12 to 24 sales in a specific day in order to place in that. So anything above that's going to require a lot more sales. But you shouldn't have to worry about that when you're going into writing, because all we're wanting to do with the research is just to grease our creative wheels, see what an audience is looking for, and see how we can meet that demand. Now comes the part of writing. There's two different walks. Neither one of them is incorrect or wrong. Plotting or discovery writing. Now, you might have heard it, plotting and pantsing. And I'm going to explain each one of these. Plotting is when you are going in depth. You're just going bullet point, boom, 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 boom. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing throughout this story or throughout this nonfiction book. So for nonfiction books, what I typically like to do is do bullet points out, and I'm going to bullet point out all of the relevant items that I want to think about talking about within my nonfiction manuscript. Then I break down each bullet point into separate sections, and in each of those separate sections, I ask myself questions about each point. Think of it from a viewpoint of, what would a beginner ask me? Or what would this reader ask me? Because if you're doing an advanced audience, then obviously you need to ask more advanced questions. Now for fiction, it's a little bit different though. What I'd like to do is I write brief passages of what readers can expect. And I do it like on a chapter level. Now I do the bullet point method like I mentioned before with nonfiction, but then I fill in more details like characters, setting, tone, pacing, and most instances, I like to know what the goal of each scene is, because we don't want to just write a fiction scene for the sake of it, because readers are going to get bored. What is going to compel a reader to go from the beginning of the chapter to the end of the chapter? How can I be able to get them there with as much ease as possible, with little friction as possible if we can? All right, let's move a little further forward. We're going to talk about discovery writing, aka pantsing. Now, you can keep your pants on here, folks. The term comes from writing by the seat of your pants. Now, I learned discovery writing from the illustrious Joanna Penn. Love the term. I've stuck with it. So this particular method is what you think it is. You just sit down and you write, and you write, and you write, and you write until you've had just about enough. Now, no one method is right or wrong. It takes time to find out what works best for you. So you might want to try to dabble with each one of them. And if you find that you're a little reluctant to, say, for instance, outline your stuff, you feel caged in, then chances are very likely discovery writing is for you. But let's just say you're the opposite. If you try to sit down, you stare at the screen, and it's just blinking cursor for hours at a time, chances are very likely you might want to go to the outlining phase of things. All right, so now let's transition over to writing the manuscript, because writing the manuscript is obviously going to take a good amount of the time. Now, I get a lot of authors or would-be or aspiring authors that want to know, where can I write my book? Literally anywhere that you want to, whatever is available in your resources. But let's just say, for instance, you have nothing to work with right now. A couple of the resources that I started out with can work for you. Google Docs is fantastic. It actually is, it's great. It's absurd that you can really get this 100% free. And it has so many different plugins and extensions that you can use with Google Docs. But as long as you have like a Gmail address, you can access Google Docs. It's just that simple. I really like it in that you can actually transition from writing your manuscript to formatting it to EPUB, which I'll discuss more in the next episode here on the podcast. But all that to say this is you can format it to EPUB, which is the type of document that you need for publishing on various platforms for e-readers. Now, the good news is you can also format it to PDF, meaning that it can be formatted to print. So I like Google Docs, one of my favorites. Now, the one that I started out with was actually called Kingsoft Office. Now, it's no longer referred to Kingsoft Office. It's now called WPS Office. It's 100% free open source software. Same thing for OpenOffice. Now, these two particular programs have a ton of YouTube video tutorials out there. You can, if you're lost, you can always figure your way around using any of those tutorials. But the nice thing is, it's relatively easy. It's going to do the same thing that you would get for, say, Microsoft Word. Now, if you're thinking about long-term, you're thinking, okay, I don't like Google Docs, but I want to still have something free that I can format. It's going to look a little bit better. You're going to thank me on this one. Actually, big shout out to my boy Ross Brand for actually bringing this one to my attention a couple years ago. Reedsy. Now, Reedsy is spelled R-E-E-D-S-Y. Reedsy actually has what's called the Reedsy editor, and it's 100% free. It's all online writing, and you can actually get it all formatted in there. It's really, really nice. I think it's absolutely absurd that they give this away for free, but who am I to complain? It's a great option for anybody out there, and I would even recommend, if you're finding a lack of options for formatting your books, Reedsy Editor's got exactly what you need. Now, there's other options, of course, when you are writing. Sure, we could say voice dictation is going to be one. Voice dictation is super, super easy these days. If you've got a cell phone of some sort, or you got a microphone on your laptop or desktop, voice dictation is rather simple. And the problem you're going to run into when you're doing voice dictation is you're going to need to make sure you're speaking slowly and clearly. And you also have to punctuate most of your stuff. So meaning if I am voice dictating my stuff right now, I would say something like, "The man sat down and scratched his head, wondering exactly where he was going to go next. Period. Next line." You will have to take a time. Now, from a good friend of mine, Nick Thacker, Nick actually put out a great course on voice dictation. He says at first it's going to feel kind of awkward, but as you get used to doing it, it's going to become second nature. Now, there's also free transcription services that you can get through, say, like AI these days. Like there's a ton of free AI services that will go through and transcribe anything that you have said in voice. So in other words, if you were to shoot something in an MP3 or an MP4, AI services will go ahead and do that for you. Now, I can't remember any off the top of my head, but I'm sure you're one Google search away from that. Also, this is actually one that I learned from a good friend of mine, Ben. Ben actually had showed me that what he would do is he would record an entire video, he would upload it to YouTube, wait for them to do the automated closed captioning, download that file. He'd put all the punctuation in there, do all the editing, and then he was all set and he had his manuscript. That probably required a lot of work. So that's something I probably wouldn't do. Personally, I would just rather just do the voice dictation, but it is an option. It is a free option. I don't want to poo-poo on it because it's probably something going to be worthwhile for any one of you out there. And not last but not least, of course, there's the old-fashioned way, because I know there are quite a few authors that still do this. They like to pull out pen and paper and sitting down and writing it. Now, you could probably take any type of things that you're writing down and you can scan it. And there are a number of documents out there that can pick up text documents, number of services that do that. I think I've seen quite a few in the Apple App Store that actually do that. I'm sure Android has something like that. Again, you're only one Google search away from getting something like that. All right, let's move forward. You've written the manuscript. Let's say that you've taken it one bite at a time over the course of a couple of weeks, and you finally have your full completed manuscript. Now, the first thing I like to do is I like to do a quick cleanup. I'm going to correct any typos, grammatical mistakes, any type of errors, and it's just going to be quick. Like, I'm not worried about any kind of developmental fixing or anything like that. I just want to make sure it's as clean as possible. There are free grammar checking softwares out there, including Hemingway. Ginger is another one. And then there's also built-in editors. So for instance, I really like Microsoft Word's editor, though that costs money to have. So that kind of contradicts this whole point of talking about free. Unless you have Microsoft Word already installed in your PC, that probably could be also an option. Or if you're using something like Apple Pages, they probably have some type of editing. So go ahead and tap into those ones. Now, my next step is going to be developmental editing, meaning what's the structure of my book looking like? Now, there's going to be editors everywhere that want to murder me after I go ahead and give you advice. But if you're cash strapped and you have no other way to come up with the money, then this is probably going to be the next best option. Easy for me to say. Beta readers. Now, beta readers are the people that are going to go ahead and read your manuscript after it's had a little bit of polishing, and they'll be able to give you honest insights on where you're going wrong, how it could be changed, and whatnot. Now, they're not editors per se, but they're enough in there to kind of say, okay, if someone is familiar with my niche, so if, for instance, you're familiar with self-publishing, chances are very likely you'd probably be a beta reader that I would love to give my stuff over to. So then you'd be able to give me critical feedback on how I can adjust my specific manuscript to suit the readers that would normally read my book. Now, where do you find good beta readers? You're going to find them in author communities or reader communities. Searching up reader communities can be simple as going into Facebook and just searching up your niche. Now, author communities, they're everywhere. Everywhere. Facebook groups, of course, is one. I've got a Discord community where we actually have a separate channel for asking for beta readers. You can go over, visit that at dalelinks.com/discord and join us on over there. And if you're looking for a beta reader, just put it out in APB and chances are very likely you might find one. Now, the next step is going to be copy editing or line editing. Now, this is where, of course, you're going to need to come back into there, but you're also going to need to lean on peers within your network. Yes, this is the time that you need to step out from behind your dashboard and get in front of some people, even if it's virtually speaking. Try to work with other authors in your niche if you can help it. You're going to need unbiased feedback. That means get ready. You're going to see some red marks in there. Tell them be brutal, because it's better that they be brutal with you than your readers to be brutal with you and you get murdered in reviews. Now, there's other ways we can, of course, we jump back into editing. We can use Microsoft Editor if we happen to have that. Pro Writing Aids, what I typically do. And then I will go to another step where I'll listen text to speech, because I'll hear how it is spoken and I won't try to read it. All I'll do is listen, because you'll listen, and if you hear something, you can pause, boom, fix it, and then move on. Now, last but not least is going to be the step of proofreading. Now, proofreading is like, oh, you just got done cleaning your car. Now we're going to go ahead and put a nice shiny wax on it. So the proofreaders can be anybody, friends, family, and author peers, preferably author peers if you can. But if you have friends and family that have some type of a background in reading or any type of English writing or something, then that's probably going to do it. So the proofreading is really, really nice, because it's going to grab anything last minute that you didn't get in any of the previous edits. All right, so as we start to wrap up things, I want to, of course, give a quick plug here for, of course, Get Covers. If you're looking for high-quality cover designs on a tight budget, then visit our sponsors, Get Covers, at dalelinks.com/getcovers. Also, enter for a chance to win a free ebook cover design by Get Covers when you visit dalelinks.com/getcover giveaway. If you missed the deadline, enter for the next giveaway in this 4-part series. There's more to come for sure. Here's my final thoughts. While writing a book can be tough, the harder work comes after writing the book. So if you're finding it really, really tough right now, buckle down. It's going to be a rough ride, especially because as soon as you're done with the manuscript, you got to get through all that editing, and you got to get through all that feedback, and you got to do all the corrections before you try to go to the next step, which that brings me to what we're going to discuss next week, which is publishing a book with no money. Yes, I know that we probably could make the argument that, publishing and writing with no money is probably not the most ideal circumstance, but I do know that there are a lot of listeners and viewers on my YouTube channel that don't have that luxury. So I want to give that luxury to you so you know exactly what to do. So make sure that you continue to tune into this podcast for the next few weeks so that way you can learn more about writing and publishing a book with no money.